Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs, where every week we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who will simultaneously amazing business moguls and awesome moms. We listen to their life stories and inspiring advice. Now, my next guest is raising the bar for mompreneurs everywhere, and I mean this literally. After working every type of restaurant job available from cook to hostess, all while holding down a totally unrelated day job, y'all, Kawana Jefferson bet on herself and went after her dream to not just open up a restaurant, but she's actually become a serial hospitality entrepreneur. She's got a bar, a restaurant, an ice cream shop, and we are so excited to talk about what's next with this incredible Brooklyn mompreneur. Welcome, Kawana.
Hi Nancy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm here. I'm pushing through.
Girl, I said I'm so amazed by just the sheer capacity you have for not just one restaurant, but multiple. And in Brooklyn, in Yonkers, like these are not small cities. This is real stuff we're talking about.
This is real stuff we're talking about, Nancy. It is. It is.
Well, I can't wait to get into it. But before we get into your mompreneurship, let's talk about who makes you a mom. Who's in your household?
Oh, my babies. Oh, my babies. I have two boys, 3 and 7, and they are the epitome of boys. I mean, just jumping off of everything, hospital visits, fighting. I mean, yeah, they are very, very, very hyperactive and involved.
Oh my. Well, as someone who also has a very boisterous individual in my household, I feel for you, especially as someone who's running restaurant. You had to be there often, and like you got to go to the hospital to the hospitality.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Precisely.
So, which came first, being a mom or being an entrepreneur?
In 2016, I was pregnant, and 2016 is when I opened my first brick and mortar. So when I opened up the bar, Sweet Brooklyn Bar and Grill, what was it? We opened in May, and I had my first son in September. So I mean, I literally was 7 months pregnant, bartending on my knees, unpacking beers into the refrigerator. I remember a customer very early in was like, absolutely not. I am not letting you serve me. Because I was just like wobbling around. But I mean, I had to get it done. So yeah, so it kind of happened simultaneously.
I mean, I was doing the math when you said that you have a 7-year old. I was like, her business is 7 years old.
Hmm.
This is fascinating. So here you are, you have a bar and you can't even drink at the grand
Exactly.
opening.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now,
Sure.
how did this come about? Because, see, I need y'all to know this is not some fly by night girl who just didn't have like, her thing going on. You are a school psychologist.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to my daddy's HBCU alma mater, Virginia State.
Oh,
Okay, yes, Petersburg in the
oh,
house.
yes. Oh, I love that. I love that.
Oh, and you had a whole thing going, and for many people, that's the dream because that's a great job. You have a pension. That's not, when I say it's not hard, it's not nearly as challenging as being a restaurateur.
It is not. It is not. It was fulfilling and I enjoyed what I was doing. I was always in hospitality, even as a school psychologist. I always either bartend or did some type of hosting job in the nighttime. Always, always for years since I was like in college. So, the hospitality industry was not foreign to me. And I've always just really had an entrepreneurial kind of like drive and spirit inside of me. School psychology was amazing, but I just felt like there was limitations and not necessarily. And I could have my own practice and do different things and be a business owner in that realm too. But hospitality just really spoke more to me, and yeah, so I finally was kind of like a, I don't know, like an itch that just wouldn't go away, and I don't think it really would have went away until I've actually opened up a business, or it would have been something that I probably would have regretted forever if I never really got around to doing it. So I just took the step. I just took the the I guess leap of faith.
And what's that all about? So you had a career, and your career was fine, but you always were moonlighting, like moonlighting. Haha, you were always moonlighting.
Hmm.
Why do you think this was such a passion of yours, even when it didn't need to be?
Well, it did need to be financially. Live in New York City is very expensive. And I've always liked really nice things. So I've always one job. I mean, if most people in New York have about 2 to 3 jobs. I mean, we are hustling to make things meet. Where are you from, Nancy?
I'm from Southern Virginia. I lived in New York. I can't live in New York for that reason. I'm here in California, and people are like, "Oh, California is expensive," and I'm just like, "You don't know New York." My
It's
in-laws are in New York. Oh my God.
it just doesn't compare. It really does not
See,
compare.
I thought you were a school psychologist in Virginia. So no, you went from Virginia State and took your little self on to New York and
Yes.
tried to roll with the big dogs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yep. I actually got my master's in Mercy College in New York, Dobbs Ferry, New York.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, so that makes more sense. So you were a school psychologist by day, but to keep your lifestyle up, you're a hostess, you're a
Art.
waitress, you're doing all the, you're a chef.
Yes.
You ran the gamut when it came to all the types of jobs you can have, and still you were like, I could open up my own restaurant.
I was. I was. It was something that I've always really wanted to do. And remember, so because I was moonlighting and because I had that experience, I always tell people if you want to open up a business, work in a business, volunteer, just kind of like become familiar with it. So it's something that you know that you want to do because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. So it was something that was kind of like second nature to me. I really enjoyed. So when I thought about a business opportunity, there was nothing else that really kind of felt optional, so it was just like a no-brainer. And finally, I guess with some motivation and push from some friends, I don't know, it just felt like time. And I just, I started to do baby steps, like just do little things. And you have that snowball effect where you're just in so deep and things are just starting to click. And I just didn't look back.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of life changes all at once. You went from just being the boss of yourself to being not just the boss of your bar, but also the boss of a child. Were you aware when you started the process of building your bar? Because that takes time. You have to gestate a baby, but you also have to gestate a business. When were you pregnant when you first started, like laying down the serious groundwork for your bar, or was that a fun surprise?
No, I was not pregnant. Um, Excuse me. I was looking for a space probably, it had to be at least 2 years.
Wow.
Just, yeah, just going to look at different spaces, really just taking my time, not really wanting to rush because this was a really big, thing for me. Prior to opening up my brick and mortar, I did buy a house in Atlanta, so that was like my first investment of, I mean, of any sorts. And I did get the chance to experience like what residual income was when I had my property in Atlanta. So that was like, I would say, my first real kind of like business venture, because I would have to travel from New York to Atlanta and check up on it. And I had like some Section 8 tenants in the house. So that was my first kind of like real feel like, oh, I think I really want to do this thing, to be able to make a purchase and then, reap the rewards and kind of like just collect residual income, right? Without having to do too much, essentially.
Right.
I was tricked though, because, having a restaurant is a lot harder than, to me, at this stage, or at least my experience, than having a single, property, investment property. Restaurant is no joke, but I guess we'll get to that.
Oh
But
yeah, no, we will get to that. But so that was smart. So you dabbled your toes in a type of business, real estate,
yes,
which is a more of a passive.
yes,
Let me back this up. Passive asterisk. But like you
yes,
said, it's
yes.
a lot more passive than running a restaurant. You take your time. You found the perfect space in Brooklyn. At the same time, you start your business. You become a mom, and tell me about what the initial months were like as the bar. Was it an immediate success? Were you still a school psychologist? How did you juggle new motherhood, new business, and bills?
Well, um, One, it was not immediate success, but I was able to qualify for an SBA loan, a small business loan, and they typically like for you to stay employed for at least 2 years after
Oh,
being granted the loan. So that was always my goal, to at least keep my full-time position for at least 2 years before I went off and jumped into entrepreneurship full time. But the business did start to do well enough about a year and a half in, where I decided to go ahead and resign from being a school psychologist and pursue my career as a full-time entrepreneur. So we were doing well enough for me to walk away prior to the time frame originally allotted.
that's
Yes.
amazing. I mean, and that's one of the things that people are really nervous. And also, a lot of people might not know that. Like, I did not know that these types of loans, if you have a job, they want you to keep that job for understandable reasons.
For sure.
But and a lot of people listening are probably also in similar situations, wondering how do you qualify? Starting a restaurant is not cheap because, for example, how long is the lease on your space for the bar?
10 years.
10 years. Okay, people need to understand when you decide you are starting something like this isn't for today. This isn't like a fly by night. You have to be in this for quite the journey.
You do. You do. It's probably one of the most expensive industries to actually start and get into. And that's why, hence, a lot of restaurants don't really make it past that 2 year mark because it is so expensive. I mean, post getting the money to actually just fund the project, the expenses with operating a restaurant in particular, even more than just a bar and grill, because all of the businesses are just completely, different as far as like just the structure of them. Restaurant far surpass the cost than any of my other two entities. I'm still balancing and learning how to navigate through it. Honestly, it's a learning curve for me, and this is probably the most I guess challenged I've been in my career as an entrepreneur right now, where I'm at in this space today. So yeah, so I'm just navigating through it, and just really trying to um stay connected. One, lean into my network and my community more than anything. I mean, it's just a lot of things. I really can go on and on, so I'm gonna try not to steer off too much from your questions because
No, this is great. Those are my questions. It is hard, but it's worth it, right? And I think you're smart to triple down because one is not going to be enough. You have you found that by having multiple different types, you kind of you have a diversity of options, of challenges, but also income streams.
yes, where I'm at today, the my bar and grill has been open for over 8 years, right? And we made it through COVID, which was also a challenge, right? A reset essentially of my business, and trying to reassert ourselves in that space. Because new things are always emerging, so you have to keep yourself new, and just kind of like present and appealing to just a new group of individuals essentially. So there's that. I closed down, I think, last January, and did like a rebrand of the space, just to give like new energy. I mean, 8 years later, I really wanted the space to reflect the clientele, which it had kind of transitioned from when we initially opened. Um, and then, Sweet Catch is still only 2 years old. Next month, we're celebrating our 2 year anniversary. So, it right now, and I think I'm very honest, and I'm an open book when it comes to business and when it comes to the benefits, the advantages, but also the hardship, right? And I think the misconception is you open a business and you do have these lines, these streams, these multiple streams, and that you make, you're making money. But the reality of it is, especially in this industry, it takes a while to really be profitable, So although right now I'm working toward, these multiple streams, it's really you really have to stay steadfast because it's a lot of sacrifices and the money does not come automatically. Essentially, I am the last one to get paid and sometimes I don't, but that is absolutely a part of the game. I listen to a lot of podcasts now, a lot of just different like entrepreneurial kind of like CEO stories, just because I need to tap into other people that have lived it, because I have to find that motivation and kind of like push from someplace. Because I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I'm the first one in my family to have a brick and mortar, so sometimes it gets a little gray, and I don't necessarily always see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I just have to kind of tap in and yeah, and find that motivation from places, and really my children, right? Because ultimately, they are the biggest reason why I'm pursuing, a career and being an entrepreneur, to pass down and leave them some type of legacy. So, they definitely motivate me.
It's incredible, and you say you don't come from a family of entrepreneurs.
No.
You were very successful before becoming an entrepreneur, and you're very successful now. Even though to you, of course, you have perfectionism complex, right? You want it to all be perfect, but it's a huge accomplishment to, in one of the
Yeah.
most difficult cities in the world, to have
Yes.
three different businesses. And
Yes.
interestingly enough, you've now got two children, 3 and 7, who know nothing but mommy as a mompreneur. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. My sons, I like when they ask, oh, mommy, are you going to the bar? Oh, is that the place with the waffle? Or, like, I enjoy that. They really see me work really hard. Um, it's a lot of sacrificing. I spend, essentially when I meet people now, I tell them I have 5 children. So that yeah, 5. I have 5, and I go down, from my oldest son to my latest business venture, and because ultimately they very much so are, and a lot of the times you spend more time at your business than you do with your actual children. And I'm a single mom, so I'm raising my babies essentially with my mother. God bless her spirit and her soul, Lord Jesus. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God, these moms, the moms behind the mompreneurs are everything.
Day. Oh my God. I don't know what I would do without her. So, so that's another element of just challenges when it's just me, right? Even with my mom's help, ultimately, I have to navigate through these things. And so there's a lot of mom guilt that comes with that a lot of the time. But I try to talk myself out of mom guilt. But even outside of mom guilt, there's just, I just miss my kids a lot of the time, and but I've chosen this lane for myself. So and I'm a firm, but I like to be a winner, I guess right now, even no matter what, I've come this far, so I'm a winner, point blank period.
Girl, I'm gonna be honest with you. You are a winner because
Yeah.
I read when I was enjoying looking up everything about you. I read a quote that you gave that there's 1 million restaurants in America, and only about 8% are black owned, and
Yes.
only about of the 1 million restaurants, only about less than 3,000, about 2,800 of the 1 million restaurants are owned by black women.
Yes.
Okay, that's less than a third of 1% of all American restaurants. And here you are with three of them.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm trying to figure this out, you are literally groundbreaking in this industry.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes when you're in it, you don't necessarily always see it. Every now and then I could step out and I'm like, oh, okay, I could see what I'm doing here. I could see what I'm working toward. I can see it, but I'm in it day to day. And I don't think anyone works harder than small business owners, hands down. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Definitely. It's a lot of work. It's rewarding. It's rewarding. And you have to be self-motivating, right? Self-motivated. It takes a lot of fortitude and a lot of just a lot of dedication. I mean, it hands down, but I definitely I say I'm built for this, because even when I kind of, fall short or feel overwhelmed, I don't necessarily stay in that space. I give myself that space to feel bad or kind of take a day or, cry. And then, I kind of snap out of it and I get really goal oriented. I get out, I create my list and I just kind of get to it. So I definitely think I'm built for, I have the stamina to be an entrepreneur, but it's real work. It is real work. I mean, and the stakes are high, because like you said, it's a brick and mortar. So you have to perform. Those bills do not go away. They are there every month. You are responsible for paying a lot of, excuse me, for paying a lot of people that rely on you and rely on your expertise to keep the chairs filled and to have the money coming in. So it's pressure too that I feel a lot of the times, but I'm navigating through it. I was a part of the Goldman Sachs small business program at one point. I also what was it, the Feed the Soul Black Restaurant Week, Feed the Soul. I was a part of their cohort at one point, and so I try my best to tap in and become affiliated with people that are also going through or also entrepreneurs and navigating through this space, and just so that I could just learn new ways and connect with new people so that I can kind of continue to push forward because I know I cannot do it by myself.
You can't do it by yourself. And to that point, I want to make sure that everyone knows what your restaurants are, what your businesses are in Brooklyn and Yonkers. So talk to us about your hustle hierarchy. So you started with tell us the elements and where they are and how people can actually go to them and what they can expect once there.
Yes, so Sweet Brooklyn Bar and Grill, we opened in 2016. That's a bar and grill located in Crown Heights, 608 Notion Avenue. Our handle on Instagram is at Sweet BK Bar, and same for Facebook. And Yeah, that's a local bar and grill, kind of like your Cheers. We have a very robust programming over there. We've always been known for our food. We have great bar food, but we have a really up-tempo brunch, to say the least, a bottomless brunch. We have
Oh,
DJs pretty much every day. We do a comedy show on Mondays. We have, your Taco Tuesday with our DJ on the Tuesdays. We have karaoke on Wednesdays. We have a live DJ sets on Fridays and the weekends, and we have brunches Saturdays and Sundays. We have a really strong teacher and school presence. So we have a lot of like school happy hour mixers on Fridays, and right now schools are reaching out because they're going back to school, so they're doing like some welcome mixers and stuff like that. But it's a really fun place. It's very small, very quaint, but it's definitely the local Cheers in Brooklyn, hands down. I love this space because sometimes we've been there for this, for over 8 years. So at this point, I encounter a lot of people that have a lot of positive memories about this space, which makes me feel like really warm and fuzzy. Like, oh, I remember I celebrated my birthday there, or my sister celebrated this there, or it's
oh.
just always a great time. And so, we've done a lot of different community events there at Sweet Brooklyn, Destination Nostrand. We've fed the police station in the neighborhood. We've just done a lot of great things out of that space, and it's just a really really fun place to experience and go to, hands down.
And that's kind of the intangible aspect of what your mompreneurship is, because you're basically like a community mom, because people want an upscale place to go. They want a fun place where they can get great food and feel comfortable and
Mhm.
celebrate themselves. And without people like you pushing and giving your all, that doesn't exist. So thank you.
Yes, especially for our community, right? This Brooklyn in that particular area is becoming a lot more gentrified, so you have a lot more diversity when it comes to representation and the bars or the grills or whatever. So having black owned bars and restaurants for us to go to, is essential, and keeping outdoors open are very important because, with the demographic changing so rapidly, if we lose our spaces, then a lot of the time they don't necessarily get reopened by us. So I definitely see the importance of what it is that I bring to that community. Absolutely. If the ice cream shop in particular, I was a school psychologist in Yonkers in a special education school, literally about 7 blocks away from where I ended up opening up my ice cream shop. So I would encounter some of my former students coming into the space and seeing me there. And it definitely was a fulfillment that I cannot even explain. Really, being able to be that for them, allowing them to see, a black woman, that's come from the same place they have, owning a space in downtown Yonkers, is humbling and just really satisfying for me to be able to be that representation for them. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, so Lawsboro, a close friend of mine, Patrick Cruz, I reached out to him, probably a couple of years ago, and wanted to. He has a lot of different ideas all the time, and I was just itching to do something new, and he had an idea, and I just loved it. So I said, let's do it. And he's like a super creative. We hand batch all of our ice cream from scratch at our ice cream shop on Lostboro. We make these like colossal delicious cookies now. We have banana pudding, we have boba tea, we have hot ice cream in the wintertime. I mean, Lostboro is so it is such a beautiful family fun concept. It's like so different from a restaurant or a bar, but it just screams family and it screams fun, and it's yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that concept. It's a lot easier too, right? But I'm also, my role in that venture was not to necessarily be there, right? So it's also about the balance and being realistic with your time. The one thing that I tell people now really is, because I have this reference, is really don't spread yourself too thin, because if you have too much on your plate, you can't give certain things the attention that it really needs. So just, I balance it now, but I know that these entities right now, I'm just going to go ahead and focus and grow and nurture them, because that's really an important factor. My Instagram for Lostboro is Lostboro Ice Cream, at
Oh,
Lostboro Ice Cream. And we also have our TikTok is the same, Lostboro Ice Cream. And that is One Larkin Plaza, where downtown Yonkers, right next to the DMV, right alongside the Hudson. So that's beautiful. I love Yonkers. I love being in that space. And then I have Sweet Catch, which was my last baby. Like I said, we're celebrating our 2 year anniversary next month, September 24th. And our Instagram is at Sweet Catch BK. We're also on TikTok, Sweet Catch, and we have our Facebook, Sweet Catch BK. And this concept is really dear and close to my heart. It is seafood and soul food. It is many recipes that I grew up on, and it allows me to pay homage to our ancestors. Like for me, I was never, I didn't really kind of take to history as I was growing up, but as I became a woman, an adult, a mom, and a business owner, it kind of opened up my eyes to history, and in a way that I never really paid attention to, and just more current affairs. I've just a lot more woke, to say the least. And that's just really the only way I can put it. But having a space where I feel like we are so underrepresented. Like I would go to a lot of boils, and a lot of the times, really none of the times, the owners look like me. And I found that to just be a little problematic, and I really wanted to open up a space, a seafood restaurant. And initially it was supposed to be just like a full-fledged boil, but with an owner that actually looked like the people that were patronizing it. You know what I'm saying? I really, really wanted that. Just more representation, more ownership, and really a celebration of the food that I grew up on. So that allowed me to kind of dig a little deeper. I feel like as far as like concept and awareness and just a mission, So I love Sweet Catch. I love all of my businesses, but Sweet Catch,
It's just like you love all of your children differently, but
precisely, precisely,
you like
very,
you like your
very
human
different.
children and you like your this is amazing. Can I tell you, it's just inspiring listening to you and your passion. And that's the complicated thing, right? The business needs to come from passion, but ain't nobody passionate about no bills. But
Yeah,
you got to do the
yeah,
bills or else
yeah,
you can't have the business.
yeah.
What is your advice to people who also want to pay homage to their culture or do justice to themselves or build financial freedom for their family and generational wealth through entrepreneurship, in particular in hospitality like yourself? Are there some things you've learned along the way that you tell baby entrepreneurs who are trying to be like you?
Um, hmm. I mean, I think okay, so for me, I well, right now we have these panels at Sweet Catch called Sweet Success. And I normally gather a panel of about three business owners. The first one we did in March, and it was a panel of three African American women that were all entrepreneurs in their own sector. The last one we did was with three Black men in the hospitality sector, and they shared their stories and their tips and share their gems on how they got started in the business and the things that have kept them successful. For me, I found myself in a lot of those platforms or on that panel, really just talking about one, really understanding that the glam comes afterward, right? Again, like it's really important for me to kind of break down that notion that you're going to step into a business and it's going to be easier than whatever you're doing now, because just get rid of that, shake that off, because that's just absolutely not the truth. And, two, that one, you can do it, right? I come from a single family home. My mom had three of us, my oldest sister and my older brother. She went back and got her master's, raised us by herself. And so I didn't have, a family member to go to start, to open up my business or to initially just fund my project. And I just really had to do it from the bottom up. So one, I always encourage people that no matter where you're coming from, if this is something that you want to do, you can absolutely do it. I think that it starts with good habits. I always give the example when I was being brought up, my mom would tell me to make my bed every morning. If I didn't, I would literally get a spanking when I got home from school, or I had to do it once I got home. But as an adult, that's one thing that kind of just stuck with me. It was just secondhand. It was just like a natural thing that I've just always did because I was just so used to doing it. Habits. When habits become routine, so if you are paying your bills, if you have good habits, it's very likely that you are subconsciously putting yourself in a position to acquire support and to be able to get lending and different things that you don't necessarily think about um, you know before you really kind of start that process. But good habits, the sooner you start them, the better. One, because I had that on my side, so I thank my mom very often for that, because good credit, right? You don't even have to have an 800 credit score at this point to get an SBA loan. One, but I'm not exactly sure what it is, but maybe at this point it's like a 700. But the fact of the matter is, you have to put yourself in a position, one, to be able to acquire those type of resources. So the sooner you start, the better. I like to give really practical advice when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, because it's a lot of because the steps are pretty simple. It's just a lot of them. And I remember when I was first wanting to start and wanted to get a loan, and I had to do a business plan, and I had to get projections done, and everything just seemed so monumental. It just seemed so like insurmountable. Like, how am I supposed to get this done? And so it kind of pushed my timeline off. It was so intimidating. The process was
Oh
so
yeah.
intimidating that I just procrastinated for a long time. But I also sought out resources like New York City business solutions, and they provided like free what is it, business plan courses and different things like that. So I kind of started these little baby steps that again just began like a snowball effect of just getting stuff done. So I always say just baby steps. Really, again, if there's something that you want to do, I think it's very, very important to do it. Volunteer, get a job doing it. Mentorship is extremely important too. That's one of the things that I always tell people that feel like they want to start something and get into a sector or want to become an entrepreneur and don't necessarily know how. Mentorship is really important. That's what people are there for, that already been through it, that can give you some good advice and essentially hold your hand so you can make a lot less mistakes. So if you, and you can seek out a mentor. You don't, that doesn't have to happen organically. It doesn't have to be something that somebody, where they find you. You can be very intentional and find the person that is essentially there to help you and that wants to help you be successful. So
I love that. Don't be surprised if someone pops up at your ice cream shop and, hello,
I
I would like
welcome
to
that.
know
I
how
welcome that.
you, what is a projection?
Look, I welcome that. It's not enough of us. And I know my mentor was such an instrumental part of my
Where did you
success.
find your mentor?
He was my boss. I worked for him. I worked for him.
Oh,
Yes, I worked for him in his in I think three of his um bar locations. Yes. Mm-hmm.
that's incredible. So we see do the work, have the good habits, know the industry that you're going in, and understand it's not going to happen overnight. And in that, it's what you said, I think is so crucial and key because you can be in something easy that you're not passionate about, or you can
Mm-hmm.
be in something passionate that's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you have chosen a very noble task that is doing good service, that is bringing good vibes, and that is also working. So
Yeah.
congratulations to that.
Yes.
And I cannot let you leave without asking you part of my favorite segment, which is called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I ask all of our guests what's next for you, what you're hoping come next, and how we can help manifest success for you in this endeavor.
Oh, manifestation. Breathe and
Mama manifestation.
let me take that one in. I'm just trying to learn how to balance everything and not put this extra pressure on myself. So yes, I'm just gonna sit on that. But I guess what's next for me? I would love to continue to grow my businesses. My growth plans is to expand and open in different markets for sure, especially Sweet Catch and Lostboro, right? Those are two. Sweet Brooklyn, I love. That's my first baby. But it's a little different to replicate a bar and grill, right? Where you're replicating a vibe. A restaurant, an ice cream shop is a lot easier to repeat, right? You have
I can
to
see the ice cream shop doing well almost anywhere. Oh my
absolutely,
gosh. Because
absolutely.
like when you're talking about hot ice cream, boba, banana pudding, all
Yes.
these different custom flavors, I'm really feeling I'm feeling grocery stores. I'm feeling nationwide.
Yes, yes, definitely. And to that point, Sweet Catch very similar. We have these recipes. I definitely want to do some packaging nationwide and expand in different markets. Very likely Atlanta. I get a lot of people that travel from different states to Sweet Catch in particular now. So that's good and that's been great. But I think even beyond that, for me, I think it's very important to just speak a little bit more about that ownership sector and really just owning the real estate that we are operating out of. That's really a big time goal of mine right now, and I think I think it's important for people that want to come into space, especially hospitality. For me, right, the one thing that I can say now, if I owned the building, it would be so much easier for me to manage, to grow my business, and have real estate, and it not necessarily just be so challenging to manage and sustain. So, I think that's an important factor, is really understanding how important ownership is when it comes to actually leasing and owning the spaces that you operate out of.
I think that's a great point. I mean, they say McDonald's is not a fast food restaurant, it's a real estate empire,
Yeah,
right? Because they own and they lease all of the places that the restaurants are. So I'm claiming that for you because I think
thank
that's
you.
brilliant. You got 2 more years on this first lease. We're going to see
Yeah,
what happens. I'm
yeah,
sending all the amazing vibes. Everyone, when you are in Brooklyn and Yonkers, you know exactly where to go to support our incredible mompreneur, Kawana Jefferson. Thank you so much for joining
you're
us
very
today.
welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. You're
Ah.
great, Nancy.
No, you're amazing. This is so awesome. And so you heard her. Everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching Mompreneurs. Just a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban, the number one, podcast.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Sarita Wesley, Allison McGovna, and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.